Hello, Da Vinci. Welcome back. This is our Thursday, the 4th of February's lesson for English. Can I finish writing instructions on how to wash your hair in space? So let's move straight into it. Are you ready? You're going to need to have obviously watched the video, how to wash your hair in space. We've done that now. We get to know it quite well now. You need your listening ears, your magnet eyes, your pencil, and then your sheet of paper, which has everything you've written so far for how to wash your hair in space. So in yesterday's lessons, we completed writing the steps on how to wash your hair in space. So we've got the steps to be taken. We completed that because we ended up writing this two on the lesson before yesterday's, and we've just finished writing these two. Yes, we've just finished writing those two, which is what we did yesterday. So we've done all of our steps to be taken now. So now we've got the introductory paragraph, which was the first bit that we left our lines for. We're going to focus on that, including a rhetorical question. Now, rhetorical question, something that is a bit of a long word, and then the word question. So question, we know what a question is, but rhetorical, what does that mean? Now, you can have a quick chat to your partner if you want, a quick chat to your teddy, but I'm not sure whether we'll get this because it's a really tough idea. So the first one that we've got for our how to brush your teeth in space, it says, have you ever wondered what it's like to brush your teeth in space? Question mark. Now that question mark is really important because it means it's a question. Now the reason we call it a rhetorical question is because when we ask a normal question like, how are you? We expect an answer back. So if I say, how are you? I would expect you to tell me how you're feeling. If I'd said, hi, how is your day? Then I would expect you to tell me how your day has gone. But when I ask a question such as, have you ever wondered what it's like to brush your teeth in space? Well, if you're in space, there's no gravity. And I go on talking about it without waiting for your answer. And that's because I'm not actually expecting an answer. I'm asking a question, but I don't want an answer back. And that's what we call a rhetorical question. So the idea is, I'm saying, have you ever wondered what it's like to brush your teeth in space? I don't want you to answer that question because I'm going to assume that you have wondered what it's like to brush your teeth in space. And therefore, I'm going to ask a question but not want the answer. So moving on now, what we're going to do is just get my camera set up down here. What we're going to do is we're going to start by looking at the introductory paragraph. And then after that, we've then got our instructions. And to finish off our writing, we're going to include a top tip. So our top tip was for brushing our teeth, something to do with, remember to brush your teeth for 2 minutes, otherwise you'll offend the aliens with your bad breath. Now that's something that we're going to include as well, but we're going to change it a little bit so it's something to do with our hair. So let me show the introductory paragraph together. So if I reshare my screen and I show you on this camera here, there we are. Can we see? Perfect. So we've got how to wash your hair in space. Here's my title. If I just make myself ever so slightly smaller. There we go. So you can see my whole page. So we've got how to wash your hair in space. We've then got our gaps here. And this gap here is where we're going to write our introductory paragraph. You then should have what you need and a bullet point list of the 4 things you need for washing your hair in space. You then should have steps to be taken. And then your first 2 steps, and hopefully you've got a longer page than me. I dropped my ruler then. You should have the next 2 steps. So then we've got underneath here is where our top tip's going to go. And at the beginning of our page is where our introductory paragraph's going to go. So let's start off with the introductory paragraph. We're going to keep the idea of the rhetorical question. So have you ever wondered, or have you ever wanted to know? So that's what I'm going to start with. So if I just make sure that camera is perfectly in the middle, there we go. So let's go with, have you ever wanted, have you ever wanted to know I've got my super neat handwriting. And when I say super neat, I mean I'm trying my best. Okay, let's see whether if I just move that light a little bit, that might be a bit easier for you to see. There you go. So have you ever wanted to know how, I'm going to make sure that huh is nice and tall, how to, if I just move my cursor, there we go, how to wash your hair in space. Now, I need something at the end of that. Have you ever wanted to know how to wash your hair in space? Question mark. It's a question, but it's one of those rhetorical questions. Now, my turn, your turn. Let's try it again. Rhetorical question. Rhetorical question. And that is what I mentioned before, a question that does not need an answer. I'm asking you a question, even though I don't want you to answer it. Okay. So, have you ever wanted to know how to wash your hair in space? So I'm then going to go on and still use the same idea from the last one about, did you know there's no gravity, there's zero gravity in space? I'm going to do that. So did, capital for the start of my sentence, did you know? Now it's that special type of no, which is a k and a n, which makes the n sound for night. So no, did you know that in space, in space, that in space there is zero. Now that's like saying the number zero, but it's saying there's none. There is zero gravity. So hope I've got enough space here. There's zero gravity, which makes it difficult Did you know that in space there is zero gravity? Which I put a comma in there because that's one part, and then I've got the next part of my sentence, which makes it difficult to wash your hair. To wash your hair. Now, if you look at mine, and because I've got a short piece of paper, you might start to notice I'm getting very, very close to my next section, and I've still got a sentence to write. So I'm probably going to run out of space here. So I'm going to do my best to fit it in, okay? Did you know that in space there is zero gravity, which makes it difficult to wash your hair? Again, did you know? Did you know that in space there is zero gravity, which makes it difficult to wash your hair? I'm asking you a question. Did you know? I'm not wanting an answer. It's another rhetorical question. I don't need your answer because you're reading it. However, I'm putting it in there because it makes you think about what I'm wanting you to think about. So then I might put in something which is my next sentence, which was to do with if you're lucky enough to go to space, you will need to read on to find out how. Okay, because I'm still talking about the hair from the last sentence. So if you're lucky enough to go to space, if you're lucky enough to go to space, you will need to read on below to find out how. Okay, so I could put if you are lucky enough. Let's see whether I can fit this in. I might need to go on to this line here because I'm probably going to run out of space. So let's put capital I. If you are lucky with a y enough. You see that okay? Yeah. Enough to go 2. Oh my goodness, I've run out of space. I'm going to have to do it here and pretend that this is on this line, okay? So if you are lucky enough to go to, actually, do you know what I am going to do? So that I don't squeeze it in, I'm going to do this special little, it's called an asterisk, okay? It looks like a tiny little star. Okay, the way that you, oh, let me not knock my camera. The way that you do it, I'll just do it up here to show you. The way you do it is you do like a plus sign and then you put a cross going through. So it looks like a star. So if you do, I'm going to do that to show you that this needs to continue because I haven't got enough space. I'm just going to turn over, continue it on this page so that I'm not squeezing everything in and it doesn't look good. So if you are lucky enough to go to, put in my asterisk so I can continue. If you are lucky enough to go to go, is that where I finished off on my page? You're lucky enough to go to space, comma, if you're lucky enough to go to space, comma, you will need to read on to find out how. Full stop. Wow, what a long introductory paragraph, but there's nothing we can do about it. It's all the information that we need. So let's look here. Have you ever wanted to know how to wash your hair in space? Did you know that in space there is 0 gravity, which makes it difficult to wash your hair? Question mark. If you are lucky enough to go to space, you will need to read on to find out how. So that's my whole introductory sentence. So for that challenge, you're going to need to look at what could you maybe change in this, okay? So you change this from have you ever wondered to have you ever wanted to know? So that was something that I changed. Did you know that in space there's 0 gravity, which makes it difficult? That's an adjective saying how it's tough. So you could maybe change that. It's difficult to wash your hair in space. If you're lucky enough, maybe you could change that if you fancy to go. If you're lucky enough to go to space, you will need to read on to find out how. Next part of the lesson is doing the top tip. Now, thankfully, I've got lots of space for this, so I'm not going to get that squished up. So the next part I need is my top tip. Now, for my top tip to work, I'm going to need to tell you it's a top tip. There we go. So starting from underneath my finally, I'm going to put top tip. And I'm going to do my colon again, which is my double dots like that. And then what I need is my ruler. I'm going to need my ruler to underline my top tip. There we are. So what is my top tip going to be? Well, I know that it's tough to wash your hair in space. And I know that if you didn't wash your hair, if you didn't brush your teeth in space, you might offend the aliens, okay? And if you offend the aliens because your breath might smell. So I'm thinking I'm gonna follow that idea. I'm gonna be a bit similar. And I'm gonna say, remember, capital remember to take your time whilst. So far, all of that is the same as the original text map. So remember to take your time whilst, instead of brushing your teeth, washing your hair. Make sure my handwriting's super neat, Mr. Watkiss. So remember to take your time whilst washing your hair, comma because I'm going to change part of my sentence. So you don't offend, which is that word that we used last time. So you don't offend. Now, offend was means you don't upset someone. So you don't offend, and I'm going to magpie the idea from the text map. So you don't offend the aliens with your, instead of smelly breath or bad breath, I'm going to change it to greasy hair. Greasy hair. Let's see if I can change that light slightly to get it a bit better for you. Let's see how's that look. There we go. With your greasy hair and a full stop. There we go. Actually, that's a bit of a cheeky sentence. I'm going to put an exclamation mark. I'm going to make it into an exclamation mark. Remember to take your time whilst washing your hair so you don't offend the aliens with your greasy hair. I'm very proud of my work now because as you can see, I have, turn my page over, on this side, you can see I've started and I've got my title and I've got the rest of my introductory paragraph and what I need and the steps to be taken. And then on this side, I've got the continued of my steps to be taken and my top tip. Let's move on to the next part of our challenge. Okay, so we've got our challenge 1 here. I've modeled what we're doing for our actual introductory paragraph and our top tip. So here's your challenge 1, your top tip. Make sure your towel is, and there's 2 words here. This says dry and this one says dog. You need to copy the sentence with the correct word using these 2. You need to use a capital letter and a full stop to make the sentence make sense. The next part, challenge 2 and 3. You need to use the modeled writing that I've done, and I've done a lot of it, so I understand if this might take you a bit of time. And I need you to use that to help you finish writing your instructions. You can magpie some ideas if you want. Now, I know there's a lot to do, so I don't mind you magpieing some of the ideas. If you can try your absolute best, like I've said on Tapestry, well done for changing those adverbs and those verbs. Some of you added some different ly words, like I saw a gently, I saw a sensibly. I think one of the other ones that we used yesterday, we used sensibly, but there was a gently, there was a carefully. That was fantastic because it just means that you're thinking about those words and what they do to the sentence and how you can improve it. So you can magpie some ideas, but if you've got some of those own ideas, that's brilliant. Thanks very much, Da Vinci. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.